example, the 7 lambs, Mavram. Remember, we bring on Rosh Chodesh, we bring cows, parim. We bring an ayal echad, 7 kvasim, and a sir l'chata, serizim l'chata. So the 7 lambs remind us of to be a light to other nations. That's Avram Rabbi Melech. The ayal olah is a no-brainer. That's the Akedah thing. The sir l'chata is the Yosef and his brothers, which we'll talk about today. And the parim at Har Sinai, when we said Nasa v'Nishma, we sprinkled dam parim. Remember that? When you said Nasa v'Nishma, with korbanot, there was Moshe put the dam of parim, of the korbanot, into big vats. And when he said Nasa v'Nishma, Moshe sprinkled the blood and said, this is the dam of the brit between us. So then, when we bring those korbanot, we're reminding ourselves of our connection to God. And that's why we follow Hosea. And God doesn't need to be fed. And if we misunderstood the temple as a place as a consumer hangout, as a shopping mall, that's what basically Yirmiyahu claims God's taking away the temple because you think this is a shopping mall and not an employee center, in a nutshell. And therefore God takes it away, and same happens in Second Temple period. And therefore the rabbis translate the core meaning of prayer to the siddur. And therefore when you mention the korban, you can achieve the same thing through prayer as the goal of korbanot was. Because God doesn't need to be fed, we need to remember our connection to God. And that's why when they brought the korban, they said the Shir Shayom, which is the first example of the rabbi's speech. Now, I'll introduce our topic now. Again, I'll try to take this really carefully. If you follow all the Nevi'im, right, in Chumash, and all the Tochachot, and Shlomo's Tefillah when he built the Mikdash, when the people of Israel as a nation have any type of calamity, it can be a famine, it can be an epidemic, it can be a war, whatever it is, it's a wake-up call for us to do tshuva. Now, that doesn't mean that the enemy is righteous. You follow? Yirmiyahu says, Nebuchadnezzar is Ebed Hashem. Got it? No, what's saying? But he doesn't know it. He's saying, I'm using Nebuchadnezzar as a tool to punish you because you misused your temple and your sovereignty. But when I'm finished using him to punish you, I'm going to punish him for how he overdid it. The fact that God might use an enemy to punish doesn't mean that enemy is anyone righteous. They're evil and you have to fight them. But you can't take away the idea that every tragic situation needs to be some type of wake-up call. What's the problem? What are we doing wrong? So ever since Gan Eden, we have a custom, when something goes wrong, we blame somebody else. Remember? It worked for Adam Arishon, didn't it? It's not my fault, it's her fault. It's your fault because you made me marry her, remember? I had no choice. That was the first shidduch. Now, the question is, how do you do tshuva? I'll give you, just because it's Thanksgiving today and there's football games. If you're a football team and your team loses a game, it's the quarterback's fault, it's the front line, it's the receivers, it's the field. You can blame everybody except the manager's fault. Of course, the manager's fault. It's the fans. You follow everyone's fault. But if that's what you do, you won't win the next game either. Right? Each player has to do what he can do better. And when you introspect and want to improve your behavior, don't begin with pointing fingers at others. Every group has their thing. Now, I think we'll all agree that we had issues with Sinat Chinam, and then now we're doing a great job of unity. We're still late in issues, but so that's why I wanted to share to good reasons for Sinat Chinam. Hope you understand the title. There's always good reasons for baseless hatred, and you'll see, and there always is. Now, there's always reasons for the hatred, but no reason to hate. Maybe there's reasons to hate, but not reasons for the hatred. Whatever it is, hatred is now. As far as tshuva goes, I'll mention that something. I'm losing I forget your name. Harold. Okay, I knew. It's just I'm as old as you guys are. As soon as you get a senior card, you're allowed to forget you're a senior. I forget to use it. What was I telling you? Oh yeah. When we pray, if prayer is an employee relationship, if I've done something wrong, okay, the first thing my boss needs to see, if I want to get rehired, or Harold said, I need to requisition more tools to get my job done. Right? So I need a better power drill. I need I need a better car. I need if I don't have money, I can't do this good project, or I need health so I can serve you. So, but if we're asking God for better care or for not whatever it is, but we've done something wrong, the first thing the boss needs to see is what? You understood what you did wrong. Because if you don't know what you did wrong and its consequences, how can you learn? How can you learn from your mistakes? So some people have a beautiful custom that when they pray, the first thing they ask for is das. No, mechila later. I can't ask for mechila if I don't know what I did wrong. I can't learn from my mistake. So some people, the first thing they ask for is to give me dat. Dat. That's it. I think we do that. Atah chonen v'adam dat. Chonenu mitat. Give us the favor. Help me understand what I did wrong. Give me chokhmah. There's a story about it in Gan Eden, isn't there? Itzadat tov hara, which makes us human. But you can't. If you can't do evil, you can't do good, and vice versa. Okay? Good and evil go hand in hand. So man has the ability, unfortunately, to do evil, but that enables him to do good. But if we can learn from our mistakes, then the first thing we need is wisdom from God to understand what I did wrong. Now I know what I did wrong. I need to want to do better. What do you call that in Hebrew or in English? Tshuva. So now I know what I did wrong. Right? Then help me want to do better. And now I know what I did wrong. Do better. Now will you forgive me? Right? And that's the first 3 blessings of Shemoneh Esrei. Got that idea? I meant to do that in the last year, but since you mentioned it, somehow I told too many stories and ran out of time. Now, back to our topic. Because it has to do with Sefer Bereshit, we're learning now, and I want to explain Sinat Chinam. I'm going to begin with a question, okay? A real easy question. I'm pretending you guys are 18-year-olds, because I'm used to teaching 18-year-olds. I told you my problem. I get older every year, and my students are always the same age. Because I teach in the gap year kids, and I don't realize that. I don't realize I'm getting older because my students are the same age. Anyway, back to it. But I always ask the question: who knows 3? What do they say? 3 are the Aval. Okay, and who knows 4? That we all know. Now, think for a minute. We know that because we say it at our Seder. Would you expect that to happen? No. Let's say there were only 3 Avot and 3 Imahot. If there were 3 patriarchs and 3 matriarchs, wouldn't that make more sense? No one is expecting there'll be 4 matriarchs. Agreed? Right? There should be a matriarch for a patriarch, or nowadays a patriarch for a matriarch. Depending on without getting to modern day issues. No, but we expect a 1-to-1 relationship, right? It should be Avram and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka. Now,
they had a couple of wives.
Yeah, but no. There's always one major wife, one primary wife. We have people doing the housework. Now, so I want to explain to you a model to understand what's happening in Sefer Bereshit. Now, I want to start with this idea of 3. Wouldn't it make sense that there'd be just one forefather? I'll put it this way. What makes a patriarch a patriarch?
Head of a family.
And that can't be, because then Terach would be our patriarch. And Nahor and Shem would be our patriarch. You follow? And Noach. We're all descendants of Noach. We're all descendants of Shem. We're all descendants of Terach. And Nahor. You follow? And Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But so why do we start with Avram? Not all of Avram's kids are chosen. What makes Avram a patriarch? Right? The bris, right? The covenant. The idea of becoming a nation begins with Avram Avinu, and I would assume that the idea of starting a nation, I'm going to use that word in English called bechira. In Hebrew, bechira. I'm joking. Right? I'm going to use the word bechira, tabachartanu, to this concept of God choosing a nation. I'm going to call it now cloning a nation. Right? God's going to choose a nation. Isn't that the biggest theme of Chumash? God wants a nation to serve Him forever. Now, God doesn't take a ready-made nation. He doesn't go to... He's going to clone a nation from the seed level. Got my IVF analogy? We're going to start with the test tube, with Zera Avraham. Right? But it doesn't go into the womb, whatever that's called. This has got to be a doctor. There's the petri dish and everything. Yeah. What's it? In vitro. That's the IV from the... IV is not an IV. IVF is a In vitro. Fertilization. That's it. I remember now. Until we get to Yaakov, right? Because Avram, only one kid is chosen. Yitzhak, only one kid is chosen. And finally Yaakov, they're all chosen. Got it? And once Yaakov, everyone's chosen. And no one's kicked out anymore. There's a filtering process with only one, Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. But they're all promised by God to start a nation. But they all have a covenant about becoming a nation. Now, what we read about Brit Ben Abtarim, if God told Avram, L'zarachan atati et haaretz, what should Avram expect? That all of his kids are chosen. Now, who decided Yishmael is out? I knew that here. Without being a prophet, I know I hear two answers. Some people say Sarah, and some people say God. Now, what comes first, 21 or 17? So in chapter 21, what does Sarah say? Remember? It says, kick that kid out because he can't go with my Yitzhak. But in chapter 17, God already decided. Remember when God told Avram, remember? That Sarah, he changes Avram's name, and Sarah says, you're going to have a kid. I mean, you had one already, but now you're going to have, Sarah's going to have a child, and it's no laughing matter. Remember? And Avram says, I'm happy with Ishmael. I finally have Ishmael. How much more do I need? He says, no, Ishmael will be great. Didn't say he'll be bad. He'll be great. He'll be blessed. He'll have 12 wool. You follow? But at Briti Akim et Yitzchak. Not being chosen doesn't mean you're bad. In Midrash, of course, because after Jews are named Ishmael up until the 7th century, aren't they? Rabbi Ishmael, but it's before Islam. No Jew names their kid Ishmael after the 7th century, after Muhammad. You understand? You knew that? And Asa becomes a bad guy once Christianity started in the Midrash. In Chumash, not being chosen doesn't mean you're a bad guy. You're not chosen. Like if you weren't shul president, doesn't mean you're not. It means you're. It means you're. What? Doesn't mean wild. I think para means something else. He says he'll be blessed. He'll be a great nation.
So what's
para means like a para. It's like everywhere. You found he'll be over the Middle East, in Europe. Okay. And we, in theory, we could. I'm against the idea that people are born evil. I believe in Tzelem Elokim, but that's a whole. I don't want to get into trouble.
Right?
Yeah.
We say that God created us.
What?
God
created
us.
Tzelem Elokim.
He is the manufacturer. He's the all-powerful.
I have a better word. It's his franchise. Got it? It's his team, and he gets to pick the players. Got it? Now that's important. What you just said.
It's more because he's the creator.
Koneh Hakol.
Yeah.
But
as the creator, he is responsible for bad defects in the manufacturer.
Oh, could be. Okay, but he makes. Okay, that's. I'm going to stay away from philosophy. Okay, no. Who's to blame? Of course, God's always to blame. That's why we need God, so we have someone to blame for our mistakes. No, but God gave us the ability to do evil, but to do good. Then now we can get points. Anyway, that's a class in philosophy. Now, back to what I was talking about. So, Avram would think that all his kids are chosen, and God decided only Yitzchak. Now, why does Sarah kick out Hagar? If you understand education, when Yitzchak is born, Sarah didn't say a word. Because in daycare, they can both be diapered by the same, metapelet. B'yomi Gamel Yitzchak, he's like 3, it's time for nursery school. He's going to learn Moda'ani, he's going to learn Brachas, you follow? They can't be in the same school together. You follow? Everyone knows that dilemma. What am I, when my nursery school, do I send him with the Goyim, you follow? Or do I send him to the Chabad nursery, they send him to this nursery, you follow? Because you start nursery school, that's their friends, that's what they remember of the rest of their life. Are they going to say brachas the whole life? It depends on what they got in nursery school. Remember, the nursery school teacher is probably the most important job, in that age 3 to get them, trained. Now, back to thing. So what's Sarah see? Because God decided Kilo Yirash, she doesn't decide, but because God decided that Yishmael won't be Yoresh with Yitzchak, therefore they can't be in the same home together. Now, Yitzchak's going to be homeschooled, which means Yishmael can't be at home. Where's Hagar from? Egypt. Where did she grow up 90% of her life? In Egypt. She has a child. What should she do? Go back home. It's doing her a favor. Okay. Now, she got lost, okay? And God took care of her. She got lost on the way there in Beersheba. And God took care of her. Avram didn't send her to die, you follow? He sent her back home. But anyway, that's the story there. What I'm getting at is that it wasn't Sarah's decision. It was God's decision. And because God decided Kilo Yirash, therefore, now, just one last joke, okay? But remember, what's the most difficult mitzvah Avram command God? Everyone thought the Akedah. But when he tells Avram, you have to listen to your wife. that was one of the 10 nisyonos of Avram. Now back to just I'm joking. No. The question is that was that a binyan av or is that a yotzei min haklal? Was that horat sha'ah? Fine. I'm not going to go back. Let me go back. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Now back to Breshit. We get Yitzchak now, right? If you remember last week, what did God tell Yitzchak? He wants to go down to Egypt. Remember the famine, like Daddy. God says no. Right? Gor ba'aretz hazot v'emchav ki lecha ulzaracha tenu kol atzot ha'el. You and your kids. Why should Yitzchak think only one kid is chosen? Now we know, we read the Bible. Only Yaakov's chosen, Esav's out. Right? Now, who decided Esav's out and Yitzchak's in? Who decided Yaakov's out, Esav's out and Yitzchak's in, and Yaakov is in? Rivka. Give me another nominee. Did God decide? Did Rivka decide? Did Yitzchak decide?
She got the
Did
prophecy
Rivka?
from HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
She got a hint. Okay. Yeah. What? Okay, but it's complicated, right? Now, what I want to claim is that from Yitzchak's point of view, right? He's chosen. He has one wife, twins. They're both chosen. Now, if they're both chosen, they're both going to be Am Yisrael. Yitzchak has every reason to think Yaakov and Esav are Am Yisrael. One kid is a macher. Asui, he does everything, right? And one kid is Yeshiva macher, right? So who's going to run the country, do the army, run the economy? Esav, right? The macher. And what will Yaakov do? Let him sit and learn. He can teach. If he can't teach, become a principal. You follow? if you let him sit and learn, he can be. He can whatever he's doing. You follow? But he can't run the country. Right? Now, if both sons are Am Yisrael, Esav needs a blessing of leadership, right? The leader, and he needs a little guidance. And therefore, before he thinks he's about to die, and the father gives blessings to the children, that Esav, you should be the leader, and you should be leader of a nation that other nations will look up to. Remember, Yabdu Chamim, all that, and you should be wealthy, etc. And Yaakov will get a bracha later, just like who does that later on? Yaakov, before he's about to die, he gives blessing to all the children, but before he blesses everybody, he calls in Yosef and gives him Bechor, leadership, he gives him a double portion. So, if I have two sons, who should be the Bechor? Esav. Now, sometimes fathers can't see flaws in their children. Ever hear such a thing? Okay. Now, and don't be surprised that Yitzchak says he doesn't. What's wrong with Esav? He says he feeds me. You follow? He doesn't know what he's doing behind. But what I'm getting at is Yitzchak is blessing Esav because he's assuming they're both chosen. Got that? Now, who intervenes in this whole mess? Rivka. God is setting up a drama, right? Because what does he tell Rivka? And only Rivka. That's not two brothers. What does God tell Rivka? Shnei goyim, not goyim, but goyim. Right? A goy is a goy is a nation. That's two nations, right? And they're not two brothers. You follow? Now, which one? The younger one. Who's the younger one? It was a photo finish, wasn't it? Yeah. But Rivka, and based on how they grew up, she understands that obviously it's Yaakov, right? And that's why she favors him. Does she know what Yitzchak doesn't know? That's complicated. You follow? But clearly, Ramban says that when she got to Nevuah, she was sure that her husband, if I know, then he must know, because he went to yeshiva for, if I know, Kabul Homer he knows. And then after a couple years, a couple of decades of marriage, what she realized? He doesn't know so much. Okay. And she's afraid to tell him because he won't believe her. It's a beautiful Ramban. Read it later, but not our topic. What I'm getting at is that Rivka has a good reason to intervene, right? Correct? Because she understands that's what God wants her to do, because that's why God gave her that prophecy. Did she do the right thing or wrong thing? I don't know. but she thinks she's doing the right thing because she thinks she's acting on her prophecy. Remember, no good deed goes unpunished?
And you're supposed to act.
Yeah. And you're supposed to act on your prophecy. That's a big question. Now, what's the proof that everyone thinks they're both chosen? If Yaakov and Esav are fighting over who's the Bechor, right? Means they're assuming that they're both in the family, and the question, who's going to be class president? Now, Esav couldn't care less about leadership. What's he want to do? He wants to come home, have a bear, remote control, okay? And he'll sell that responsibility for a bowl of soup. Yaakov, who sees a vision and wants to be the head of the nation and knows he can do a better job than his brother, he'll take any opportunity to take the job. But when Yaakov wants the Bechorah, does he want the privileges or does he want the responsibility? So if he wants the privileges, then what he does is terrible. Okay? If he wants the responsibility, what he does is understandable. No, because you don't use leverage to take advantage of people. But if someone couldn't care less, this Vayives Esav et Bechorah, is that a summary of why he sold her for a bowl of soup? When Esav says, I'm going to die, it doesn't mean I'm dying if I don't get that soup. He just came home from a day of hunting. He's just tired, lazy. He says, who cares about it? I'll sell it. It means if he sells his Bechorah for a bowl of soup, it means he couldn't care less about the future. Because I'm going to die. I think that's the easiest explanation. Now, what I'm getting at is that both of them think that they're both chosen. The question is, who's going to run the family? Who knows differently? Rivka. Now, introducing a special name for God, El Shaddai. Some people put it on their mezuzah. Maybe you'll understand why soon. Okay? This Bechira process of 3 generations, remember Avram, Yitzchak, and then Yaakov, and then it's over. There's a special name for God in this process, and only in this process. You with me? You probably didn't know that. So let me show you. If you have your Chumash open up Perek Yud Zayin. I'll prove it to you in a minute. Look in Perek Yud Zayin. Perek Yud Zayin in Brishit. It's the first time Elokim speaks to anybody ever since Brit Milah. Ever since Brit Keshet. There's a rainbow covenant with Elokim. He's not going to bring another flood. And then that's a Brit with an Od Brit, and it's a Brit Olam and everything. The next time Elokim speaks is going to be with Avram Avinu, with what we call Brit Milah. I'm your God, you're my people. And they're connected, but that's a whole different topic. What I'm getting at is that up until now, whenever God has talked to Avram Avinu, Chumash calls God Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'yomer Hashem el Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha. It's always Hashem. Elokim is never spoken to Avram directly. Now's the first time. And what's Hashem say to Avram? Hashem tells Avram in Pasuk Yud Zayin, Avram's 99. What does God tell him? Well, first thing, take a look in Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. Avram was 99. Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Ani El Shaddai, Hitalech lefanai v'yatamim. That's what you need to be. That's right. And I'm going to make a brit with you. And then Elokim. Now, what does El Shaddai do now? I'll say it. If you want to understand El Shaddai and Elokim, you have to read the Ramban on this pasuk. I'll summarize the Ramban. El Shaddai is Elokim on steroids. I'll explain what I mean. He didn't say that, but that's what he's saying. He's saying that Yud Kei Vav Kei, he can do miracles, play with nature. That's the 10 plagues. That's Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's woe. You can't miss. God's presence is felt. You can't miss him. Elokim is nature. You can perceive God. You can't see God. The nature. If you understand what light is, the ability you can perceive God through nature, but you can never see God directly. You just see what He did, and you can perceive God. That's like the or from creation, the ability to perceive. But actual experiencing God, like Har Sinai kind of thing, that's Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now, God doesn't do miracles like Yitzhak Mitzrayim for the Avot. Right? But He sort of watches over him, like what's called Hashgacha Pratit, but not Gluya. What Rambam calls Nister. The Rambam's explaining his basics of Kabbalah, where sometimes God's Hashgacha is like Nigle, you can't miss it, like Har Sinai and coming out of Egypt. Sometimes it's Nistar, that it's there but you don't see it. Now, sometimes it's a little Nistar plus, a little bit. Not a great miracle, but a little extra. Like Sarah will become pregnant, but not miraculously, not through natural means, but a little extension in her reproduction system. You follow? But she won't be inseminated by God. You follow? Just joking.
That's Rosemary's baby.
That's a super miracle. What I'm getting at is that she'll have a child through natural means, but else they'll help her a little bit. You follow? That's what God's saying. I'll prove it to you. God tells Moshe, I appeared to the Avot El Shaddai, but Yud Kei Vav Kei, I never made myself known to them. I talked to them, but I didn't act in that mode. I didn't act in mode, and therefore El Shaddai he's the God that makes sure you don't slip on a banana peel. You understand what I say? There's a banana peel, right? So Derech HaTeva, people drop a banana peel, and you walk, you slip, right? El Shaddai will protect you from slipping on a banana peel. Right? Now that's not a miracle, but
It is a miracle.
yeah, it's a miracle for you. Got it? That's how I understand the mezuzah. You understand? You need hashgacha. I don't expect God to do miracles for me. Just that little extra help. I want to be at the right place at the right time. I mean, that's the little my Eva. I shouldn't have said that. Now back to I'm trying to explain what I mean. Elokim, derech hateva, and a little extra. Hope I used the word steroids right. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Let's get back to work because we're going to run out of time. You with me now? Watch what's going to happen. Hashem is telling but God's name is there, and what does God do right away? He changes Avram's name to Abraham. Got it? Changes Sarah's name to Sarai. Makes a brit avot. Sarai to Sarah. Got it? Okay? And promises the birth of a child. His name will be Yitzchak. Look in the second half of Perek Yud Zayin. Remember, Avram says Yishmael, and God says no. Keep Yitzchak. It's at Briti Akim et Yitzchak. The brit will be with him. Yishmael will be great. Now, who made that decision? Right? It begins with Avram changed names to Abraham, El Shaddai. Sarah's changed name to Sarai to Sarah, and the birth of Yitzchak. Yitzchak doesn't need a name change. Why? Because God named him. Okay. When's the next name change in Chumash? Guess who's going to say that? There's 2 times in Chumash God says Ani El Shaddai. You with me? Right? When the name changed from Avram to Abraham, and the beginning of the process, right? And the name changed from Yaakov to Israel at the end of the process. You with me? Now, remember that?
Moses too. Says,
No, he tells Moses, I'm about to make myself known as Yud Kei Vav Kei. But the Avot, I communicate with them through El Shaddai. That's a special name for the Avot. It's only in Bereshit. And in the beginning of Shemot, where God tells us things are different now. That was so safe for Bereshit. Now we're a whole new ballgame. That's why, if you look at the names in the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar, okay, Tzuri Shaddai, Pagiel, Ben Ochran. Remember, look at all the names. They'll have 10 of them have Shaddai and half of them have El. Okay, none have Yod-Heh. Understand? Only Hosea, only after they come out of Egypt, he can change them to Yeshua to put the Yod-Heh in there. No one has a Yod-Heh. Everyone has a Pagiel, El, or Shaddai. Amishadai. There's a whole bunch. Take a look at them later on. It's like really neat. Okay, but that's the point. What I'm getting at is that the only time I have the name El Shaddai is in this process of being chosen. Now, when Yaakov is giving over the Bechorah to Yosef, right, and saying that God chose me and we're all chosen now, what's he tell him? El Shaddai nirai lai belush beres kan vayvarech oti. We'll see in Perek Lamed when God changes his name to Yaakov. But there's only 2 times that God says Ani El Shaddai. Sometimes the Avot refer to him. We'll see. We'll see a great example in a minute. But the name of that process of filtering of 3 generations, and then everyone's chosen, that's God's special name. You with me? You see how important it is. Now, open up now on the first page now. If I want to know what Yitzchak was planning to bless Esau with, I want to show you he wasn't planning to say you're the only one. He was saying, I want you to be the leader of the family. Because what does Yitzchak say? We know this from Messiah Shabbos. If you have that minhag. Okay? Yitzchak says as follows, V'tein lecha Elohim mital shmai mishpan eretz v'arov dagon v'tirosh. Roman numeral 2. You know that by heart, don't you? That's not you're the only one. That says you should be a rich man. You have a job to do. You need resources, right? To be leader. You should be wealthy. Okay? Yavdu chamim yishtafud lechalumim. You should be the head of a people that other nations look up to and respect and bow down to. But within the family, we're on Roman numeral 2 on this page. See it? You know this by heart, don't you? It's the famous one. Now, that's not the blessing you're the only one. That's the blessing of what? You'll be the leader. And your brother will be subservient to you. He'll run the show. He'll write your check for your cola. Now, but it's not you're the only one, because it's not Birkat Abraham. It's not the bracha of chosenness. It's not up to Yitzchak. And Yitzchak is both chosen. That's why when Esav comes in and says, "Hey, don't you have a bracha for me?" Right? What's he say? Your brother came and took, not the bracha, but your bracha. And don't you have one? He says, "Oh, you can also be a rich man, right? But you can't be the leader unless you go somewhere else, or when you either leave Israel Tered or when he goes down, whatever it is." But he's saying you can't share leadership, but you can share wealth. But you can both be together. In the meantime, Yitzchak and Rivka have a little shmooze. You follow? And she must have told him what happened. And now open your Chumash. I should have put it here, but look in your Chumash. Look in Perek Chavchet, which is the introduction to Perek Chavchet, which is Parsha Vayetze, where it should start in Perek Chavchet. Remember, Rivka tells Yaakov, your life is in danger. Go to Lavan and get a life. Remember? Yitzchak calls Yaakov in. He says, go to Lavan and get a wife. Understand? So he's going for two reasons: to stay alive, to get a life, and to get a wife. Now, on his way out, his father's going to give him one last blessing. Yeah, now, so let's take a look. Look carefully. Look in Perek Chavchet. Look how it begins. Yitzchak calls in Yaakov. Says, go to Padan Aram, to to Lavan, your uncle, etc. And look in Pasuk Gimel. We're right on the mark now. You hope you follow. Ve'el Shaddai yivarechotcha, v'yafrecha v'yirbecha, v'yitein lecha et, v'yitag l'kalmim. And what's it say next? V'yitein et birkat Abraham, for you and your zera, the reach techet eretz v'gorecha asher natan Elohim l'Abraham. That is bechira, isn't it? Now, did that ruin my shir? Whose franchise is it? Who should decide that Yaakov's chosen? Why is Yitzchak deciding? He's not. What's Yitzchak blessing him? That God should decide. Now that Yitzchak finally realizes it's another generation, got it? And now what's he need to do? Now it can only be one, but who's that up to? El Shaddai. You follow what I told you that whole shir now? On El Shaddai? And therefore, who should make that decision? El Shaddai should bless you and give you Birkat Abraham. Because who's in charge of the franchise? El Shaddai. Who named you Yitzchak? Who named him Yitzchak? Who's going to pick the next generation? You follow? Now, but who has to confer it?
Yitzchak.
Yud-Kei Vav-Kei and Elohim. And El Shaddai. Yeah. When does Yud-Kei Vav-Kei confirm it? Right away. Parsha Vayetze. What? Yaakov's running away, thinking he's unchosen, being sent away from home. He has a dream, and what does God tell him? Ani Hashem Elohei Avraham Avinu Yitzchak. Haaretz, you're getting this land. You're running away. Hine Anochi Imach. I'll take care of you. I'll bring you back, etc. And therefore he said, when I come back, I'll build you a house. Got it? Now, Elohim doesn't confirm it until he graduates Lavan University. Right? And what's his final exam? The struggle with the Malach, right? The Malach with the Malach we talked about. Look in Perek Chavchet. The Malach gives him the new name, but it's not official until Elohim makes it. Perek Lamed Hey, Pasuk Tet. Look in Perek Lamed Hey, Pasuk Tet. Yeah. Read out loud. Okay, that was God give him one last blessing when he comes back from blessing. What's he tell him? Now it's official. Now continue. Ani El Shaddai. Okay, and at the Aretz Shenatati L'Avraham, L'Chatnena, remember? And you'll get the thing. That's exactly Brit Milah, isn't it? And isn't that a perfect match? The two times God says El Shaddai. Hope you follow. That's the key part of this year. People have never noticed it before. Am I right? The two name changes. Now I need this to explain Sinat Chinam. Our first half is done. How we can explain it? Look in. I'll explain outside down. I'll show you on the inside. Now we get to Yaakov, right? Yaakov is for sure chosen, and only Yaakov, and he hopes to be over. Now, this choosing process can't go on forever. Why not? Why can't every generation got to pick only one child? You won't be a nation. You'll be an MVP. You won't be a nation. So it's got to stop somewhere. And it should be as soon as possible. Now, assuming it ends with Yaakov, right? But let's assume there's one matriarch for patriarch. Okay? Now, you told me 20 minutes ago it's a logical assumption. Didn't you? I was leading the witnesses, but you agree with me that it makes sense one matriarch for patriarch. If you would ask Yaakov, who's the matriarch, assuming there's only one, I explain what's called nowadays in Hebrew conceptia. Conceptia is a concept that everyone holds by, which ends up being wrong, but there's a good reason to keep it. But what's the concept? One matriarch for patriarch. If you would ask Yaakov, who's the matriarch? And give me a quote, Atem Yidatem, and that's Yehuda quoting his father in Parshat Vayigash. Now, why would Yaakov think his wife is Rachel? It's Eshet Yaakov, right? Because that's who he wanted to marry. So Lavan tricked him. Okay, so he has to take care of her, take care of the others. But his wife is who? Is Rachel, right? Of course, Rachel Imenu. How many kids does Rachel have? How many Shvatei Modavi? Two. Who's the Bechor?
Three. Because Yosef became a friend.
No, that's later. That's later. You read the book. In the meantime, Yosef is a Bechor, right? And Binyamin, got it? Yaakov and Esav a generation later, got it? How about the Bnei Shvachot? They can do sponge. They're not gonna. They can't be chosen. They're half-bloods. Follow? Leah's kids? Okay, I'll send them to college or something. But I'll give them like Keturah's kids. You married them, but they're not chosen. You understand? Because there's only one for one matriarch. Now, if that's what Yaakov's thinking his whole life, how would he feel if something tragic happened to Yosef and he disappeared? Wouldn't he be devastated? Yeah. What would be his last ray of hope? Would he let him play tackle football? Would he send him to summer camp? Would he go on to class Tiul? No way, you follow? He'll watch him like a hawk. Because that's his last hope. Do you know a book about that? Does that explain all of Yaakov's behavior to the end of the book? Why is he making him a colored coat? Because you're the Bechor, you follow? And that's why he's so dead. He can't get over the fact when he's a missing person. Remember? And he assumed dead. He can't get over it. And it's ruining his whole concept. What's going on? And if Binyamin would go, he's finished. Leah's kids, no way, you follow? There's no. What did Leah's kids think? They were modern Zatman. Basically, was called Hashkacha Pratis. Right? Laban tricking Yaakov, right? That's Hashkacha Pratis. That's like the Balfour Declaration. You understand what I mean? That's a sign from God that what? God wants who? Yeah. Isn't it clear God wants Leah? Give me some proofs God wants Leah. Yeah? First, how did Laban pull that off? How did he pull that trick off? Right? That's Hashkacha Pratis. You follow? She has kids like that. She's blessed. Well, Rachel can't even have kids. Okay, so God had Rachmanis on her. You follow? But she dies as soon as she gets to Israel. You follow? God wants Leah. Leah's the matriarch. They can prove it. Now, has the father ever been wrong before? Was Abraham wrong about Ishmael? Was Yitzchak wrong about Esau? Yeah, a family pattern. And therefore, they're growing up thinking what? That they're the chosen kids, but the father doesn't get it. Remember, the father's 100 years old. They're teenagers, aren't they? Yeah. In their 20s. And man, he's an old man. We know better. We know we're not going to do old. That's old Bafdal. We're the new Tzionut Dati now. I'll control myself. Now, is that what happened? Where he said, remember Biotam Metemi Spar? That's what Yaakov tells his hilltop kids. Remember when they wiped out Shechem? He says they're going to come in. There's going to be a retaliation, and you're being irresponsible. Yeah. And they say, he says, Ani Metemi Spar. Remember, the word Metemi Spar in davening comes from there. Of course, they get the last word in, don't they? You're going to treat our sister like that? Now, in their eyes, why is Yaakov so passive when Dinah gets raped? Imagine if Rachel had a daughter. I'm exaggerating. Got my point? In their eyes, why is Yaakov so passive?
Because he didn't really care.
He doesn't care. But what? I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's what they think. Now, after Rachel dies, he still doesn't get it. Who does Yaakov take to his tent after Rachel dies? Who should he take? And who's he taking instead? Bilhah. Who's going to protest? And what's he going to do? Yeah, he's going to make sure they ain't going to happen. So if he'll sleep with Bilhah, then she's asked for Yaakov. It's a protest. It's not a riot. So you follow? It's a protest. I'm just trying to explain all the stories in Breshit. Because Yaakov's kids are sure they're right. You follow? They're the Amma Nifcha. Is that my point? Because there's one, all because there's going to be one matriarch. You understand there's always good reasons for Snat Chinam? Now, if Yosef is playing with Bilhah and Shifcha's kids, that's fine. Is that what he's doing?
Yes.
Remember, they know the father doesn't get it. They wrote him off already. They know better. They're the new, I shouldn't say that again, but he's the old Mafdal, they're the new Mafdal. We got this right, and we're going to teach him who's boss in Israel, and we're going to be the Now, Yosef has a dream, right? First he's playing with his Shifcha's kids. That's fine. You follow? Now he's got a dream. What's he dreaming? They're all back down to me. What's that sound like?
He's the king.
It's going to be another generation. You follow? Before there'll be Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Yosef, like in your sukkah. You follow? Like the Shpizin? Depends on what order you go by. You know that problem in your Shpizin. Is Yosef at the end or? Yeah. Now, but I'm getting at is that he's dreaming that he's chosen. You follow? That can't be. You follow? That's just a dream. He's a sakana. Sakana. What's that in English? He's dangerous. You follow? He doesn't understand. He just doesn't get it. So as long as he lays low, fine. He's dreaming now that that's a danger to come. So, you follow? What do we have to do? Get rid of it. Now, this Balach Halamot is dangerous. Now we're B'nai Noach. We can't commit murder, but we got to get rid of him. So first, let's kill him. Oh, we can't kill him. Right? So let's let him die in the pit. No, let's sell him. You follow? A win-win. But they're sure they're doing the right thing because there's always good reasons for Sinat Chinam. Okay. Now, you with me? Now, Yosef is in Egypt. He was sold. What's he understand now? He thought he was chosen, but what's he realize now? He wasn't, right? And he's abandoned. Just like Yishmael was out. You follow? Just like Esau. In fact, I think he calls his first kid, God abandoned me. Remember, that's Menashe, because he's unchosen. Yeah, but he still believes in God. The fact doesn't mean you're bad, you're just different. Why should you write home now? No one likes him, he's out, he has his new life now. He forgot his dreams. Okay. When does he remember his dreams? Now, flip the page over. And you see my little diagrams. Okay. Teach you a little algebra. Remember algebra? Now, N. You see that little drawing I have there? That little, I call it Chernobyl. It's a drawing. It looks like it's a what do you call it? What do you call that curve?
Triangle.
Yeah, no. It's a converging and then diverging. Got it? The converging part is the Bechira process, right? And afterwards is Am Yisrael. You follow? Now, we're assuming that Bechira should be an event. It turns out to be a process for n amount of generations. Avram thought it would be an event. N equals 1. Yitzhak thinks it's 2 generations. N equals 2. Got it? Rivka in her dream is told it's n is greater than 2. You follow? Assuming 3. We know n equals 3. Got it? But Yosef's dream maybe n equals 4. You see what n is? N is the number of... now, my whole point is, the of us don't know what n is going to be. They know there's Bechira. They don't know where n is going to end up. It's an unknown. It's a variable. And they're confused. Now, but on top of that, everyone thinks there's only one matriarch, which also makes sense. Now, why is everyone sure that Yosef's dream is just a dream? It has what's called Dvarim B'Teilim. What doesn't make sense in Yosef's dream? The mother's died, and the sun and the moon must be, mommy and daddy. So it's got to be, therefore it's just a dream. It doesn't come true. So they write it off. No. So if you look at the page, n equals 3 is what we know. Now, after the Bechira process is over, then the father gives out brachot, like Yaakov does at the end of his life, and we have to decide who's the Bechor. Who picks the Bechor? By default, it's who's ever born first, but you can lose it. Sleep with your father's concubine and you're out. And you can gain it if you're a guy like Yehuda. Or maybe like Yosef, you follow? In other words, who's going to be the Bechor, it really gets complicated. But in the ideal situation, it should be one patriarch, and the first boy should be the Bechor. Okay? Now, so we know n equals 3, and there's 12 tribes. But Avram down below, Avram thought n equals 1. And all his kids would be chosen. That's what God told him, it sounded like. But then Yitzhak thought n equals 2, because God told him, Kilachal Zaracha, and he has 2 tribes. Rivka knows n is greater than 2, or equal at least 3, and it'll be the younger son. You see, understand the drawings? Now, Yosef's dreaming n equals 4. Got that? Now, what does Yaakov think? N equals 3R, R for Rachel. You with me? Rachel's his wife, Yaakov Rachel, 2 tribes, and everyone else is rejected. Leah's kids know, what do you call it? It should be know nothing. So Leah's the only one chosen. 6 tribes, got it? That's right. Okay. What did no one ever dream of? That what?
Well,
they're all chosen? Now, who knows 11? 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream, right? Now, when they're growing up and fighting, right? Who's the only one? Who's the matriarch? Yosef has a dream. Two dreams, right? What's the first dream about? We're all in the field, we're all wealthy, right? So I'm maybe the wealthiest, but we're all wealthy. There's no numbers there, right? But we're all in the field and we're all wealthy. Okay. The second dream is much more complicated. We have numbers there, right? What are the numbers? The first dream is down to earth. Mamash. It's about prosperity. The second dream is up in the sky. Everything's in the sky. The sun, the moon, and the stars. What's that make Yosef? A star. Probably the North Star, because there's only room for a sun and a moon. He didn't have that telescope yet. So there's 11 stars are bowing down to who? To Yosef. Now, everyone thought he's dreaming, n equals 4, whatever he was, but no one would pay attention to the 11. What was God trying to tell them in the dream? The what?
Yosef,
What?
Yosef is the choice.
Wait, is Yosef the only one, or Yosef the Bechor? Okay. Was Yosef dreaming Bechira or Bechora? You follow? And what else had the dream? Everyone thought the sun and the moon is the parents. No one paid attention to it. God was trying to tell them that what? Guess what, guys? You're all chosen. But no one got the concept. You follow? Because everyone has their own concept that there's only one matriarch. And how could Bilah and Shifcha's kids? You follow? Who heard of such a thing? They're half-bloods. You understand what I mean? How are they different than Keturah's kids or Haggah's kids? Of course they're not chosen, because that's their concept. God's trying to show them there's room for everybody. But no one gets it, and we have to learn it the hard way, like Jewish history. Got my point? Now, what's going to happen? In the meantime, Yosef becomes an expert in divination. Where did he get his bachelor's degree? In jail. Like our jail. I wish I was joking. Remember the butler and the baker? Remember? He solved that one. Got him out of jail, right? He got his doctorate with Pharaoh's dream and landed a good job now, didn't he? And now he knows how to interpret dreams, and now he can interpret his own dream. But he forgot his dream. When does he remember his dream? When the brothers come. Hey, they're all bowing down to him. But who else is bowing down to him before his brothers came? All of Egypt and all of Mesopotamia is coming. Remember, everyone's coming. We're a superpower. Now, whose calendar is solar? And who has a sun god? And who has a moon god? And who are lunar? Remember, to this day, they have a lunar calendar, don't they? And there's a crescent and everything. It's part of their culture. And they have who's the sun and the moon? All the nations are bowing down to Yosef. He couldn't know that as a kid. But what's he realized now? Yeah. The sun and the moon, that's Egypt and Mesopotamia. Who are the 11 stars must be now? My brothers. And what am I? I'm the Bechor. And what's my job? To bring the family together and teach them we're all chosen and change the concept. You follow? Got my point? Now we figure it out. Now what's his new job? To reunite the family. Now, I have to do it carefully, because if I just say, hey, I'm your brother, we'll never get along. He wants to give them an opportunity to redeem themselves. So he puts them, he wants to put them in a situation where they could dump Binyamin and go back scot-free, or give up their entire livelihood for the sake of Binyamin and the father, who thinks that that Binyamin is the only one left chosen. You follow? What did they decide to do? Right? They give up on themselves anything to save Binyamin. We'll give up ourselves just for that one child, because his father cares about him. Understand? Then Yosef knows they're ready to reunite, and that's when he says, "Yosef, I'm Yosef," and then he says, "Don't worry about it. God was behind it. He's doing everything to unite the family." Got it? So you understand my title now? There's always reasons for that chinam. Now, here's what I want to share with you. I think Yosef's dreams are basically Yitzchak's blessings a generation off. What were Yitzchak's two blessings? You should be a rich man, right? That's wealth. What's Yosef's first dream? Wealth, right? Rov the Gam B'tirosh. In the field, it's Tagam. Now, what's Yitzchak's second blessing? Yavducha min yishtachvadu min. Other nations should bow down to you. Okay? But within the family, you'll be gvir lachecha yishtachvadu b'nei mecha. Is that exactly Yosef? Is it Yosef fulfilling Yavducha min yishtachvadu min? Havei gvir lachecha? That's exactly Yosef. Yitzchak was one generation off. You see that n equals 2. Understand? Now, why did God set up the drama? That's another question. Why does God want Yaakov Yitzchak to think that they're both chosen and Rivka to know is only one of them? So Yoel Badun has this famous Hezder board that to be Am Yisrael, we need the drama because we have to think. There's a Havamina that Am Yisrael should be Esav's and Yaakov's. Let Esav do the army and let Yaakov sit and learn. So he says this is teaching you that the people sitting and learning also have to be the people doing the army and working in the Gashmias. You follow? So it could be. That's a great.
That's sort of
it's called. But now that's called not the word. That's not research. That's me-search. So there's research and me-search. There's research and me-search. Now, if you have ashkaf and you're looking for it, the psukim. You got it? Research and me-search. Someone told me that word. Now, but sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's true.
To prove your point.
To prove your point, you bring down. Do you have? Do I learn that from the story, or do I have that, believe that ahead of time and find it in the story? It could be, but I think it's true anyhow. What I'm getting at, though, is that if I look at Yitzchak's blessings carefully, then basically Yitzchak is a generation off. And what was God telling Yosef in his dream? He was supposed to tell his dream to his brothers, doesn't he? By Saper Lachav. What did God want them to do? They're growing up fighting who's the only one. What's God trying to tell them? You guys can be great. You have to work, but you have to be all 12 together. So sure, that's research. I'm looking for pluralism. God's trying to teach them there's room for who? Even the half-bloods. Because it's not just genetic. Okay? And there's room for Leah's kids and Rachel's kids. And there's room for Yosef's leadership and Yehuda's leadership. You follow? And we need 12 tribes, because we have to be a model for other nations to learn from. You can have different opinions, different outlooks on life. You can be liberals, conservatives, open, closed. You follow? But you all camp around the Mishkan. You have one common goal. And the way civilization achieves things is by having multiple opinions and arguing about it maturely. Now, there's no way to know. There's a value in, the saying. If you're 20 and not a liberal, you have no heart. Right. If you're 40 and a conservative, and you have no brain. Right. And not because there's a need for the Kol Yaakov and Yedan B'Esav. And there's a need for 12 tribes. There's a need for Yosef's character and Yehuda's character. And we need Dan and we need Yisachar. You need normal people also. You need accountants, and not everyone needs to be Yehuda. And when everyone wants to be Yehuda, joke. Remember Yehuda jumped, the sea didn't split until Yehuda jumped in? You know that one? Yeah, Nachshon. Then you heard from him. So my add-on is that the sea, Nachshon jumped in, that's one thing. If everyone jumped in, they would have drowned. Understand my point? It says not everyone can be the leader. If everyone wants to be the leader, it won't work. The right person has to be the leader. So Nachshon jumped first, okay? And in his schut, that's the idea of leadership. But that's a sikha. Now back to, I think my time is up, yeah. But let me summarize. I hope I got my points clear. What I'm trying to show is God was giving them a hint, at least, a tool, to get over your concept. There's room for everybody. But why doesn't God just tell them? Because, as you know in life, if you don't learn the hard way, right? You don't learn. I can't tell you how. Ask any parent, ask any grandparent, because parents make all the mistakes. We know better, don't we?
Of course.
I do. We know way better than our kids how to raise children. My mom used to say that she wished she had grandchildren first. So what I'm getting at is that God, through Yosef's dream, was trying to show them, grow up. And there's a need for everybody. There's a need for Yud Bet Shvatim. That's who knows 12. Okay? And we need multiple opinions, and that's how you grow. And you have to argue, but argue maturely, because you have a common goal. When your goal is me, it doesn't work. When your goal is we, it can work, but you have to appreciate other people's opinions and hear them and argue and pray to God that as a group we make the right decision. And you make that decision by arguing maturely, sharing common goals. When it's all about self-interest, then it becomes a disaster. And that's what I'm saying. There's always good reasons, remember? Sinat Chinam, and there always is.
Yeah.
Right?
But you need one.
What?
Leader.
You need a leader who realizes that he's everyone's leader and not his team. You follow?
How is that
No, it's
reflected in Jewish history?
study it. You'll see it. When things go bad, the second we split the kingdom, Egypt takes over. The second we're united, David unites the kingdom, we're on a high. The second that Rachab and Ravam fight, our borders shrink. Look at Jewish history. 6-Day War. We're united, we win. I don't want to bring examples from today. You can figure it out on your own. Okay? So again, I'm not. I didn't take any sides, right? But I'm trying to think. But the second you realize there's always reason for Sinat Chinam, and we're all responsible. Okay? Everyone's responsible. It's how we talk, how we act. It's not. It's always. Everyone's proving I'm right. Remember? Everyone takes what happened, proving I was right and everyone else is wrong.
Research.
I think it proves everybody's doing research instead of research, and cheshbon nefesh. But for everyone, there's room, and we pray to God that He leads us. It's super difficult decision we have to make, but realizing the need to work as a team. Right? We're not going to win the next game if everyone on the team is blaming each other. And every group has to do what they can do better. And the first thing they can't do is say, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Even though they're right. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. And we should pray for that, what do you call it? God answer our prayers. Okay.